of us have spent the past year or two watching these videos and listening to Western women, American women more specifically, and even more specifically, Black American women speak about their standards, how they're not settling, how they're going to go divest or swirl. And we're wondering where they're getting these ideas from. What has happened over the past few decades that has caused them to be so insane and delusional with their ideals and their ideas? The elder BGS often speaks about the Prussian education system. I wanted to speak about this in a different angle and speak about something we talk about tacitly often, but I wanted to give it some detail, and that's the media and how the media has affected this conversation that's been going on between men and women over the past few decades, but more specifically Black men and Black women. So y'all go ahead and listen to this clip, and y'all let me know what y'all think towards the back end. And I'll pause right there.
While they didn't start making original live-action shows until the late 90s, they came in hard, quickly crafting what journalists Julia Borston and Alinda Wheat call a tween machine, in which pre-teenagers, and in this case primarily girls, were targeted through lifestyle marketing like the world had never seen. As scholar Morgan Genevieve Blue notes, the marketing was part and parcel with the programming decisions themselves, explaining that Disney Channel personnel worked closely with Disney Consumer Products and Disney Music Group to extend the network's fictional narratives across a variety of media and merchandise for tween girls. This was in order to effectively creep into the lives and life spaces of kids beyond the TV network. And that's according to a presentation given by President and CCO of Disney branded television, Gary Marsh himself. And the way they did it? Mostly through appeals to girl consumers. As Blue explains, characters like Hannah Montana promote representations of aspirational celebrity and teen life via fashion and dress-up and musical performances. And this way, according to Blue, franchisable girl star personae both reflects and perpetuates a neoliberal turn in the United States, which privileges a performative and celebrity-oriented form of girlhood as the contemporary ideal, i.e. a girl who has all the products she needs to look and behave a certain way. In the aughts, this often took the form of sparkly clothes, as best seen in Disney's unprecedentedly large expansion into Walmart stores with clothing and lifestyle lines specifically marketed to middle and working class girls. By 2014, Disney was racking in $3.99 billion of revenue in consumer products alone, driven largely by Disney Channel merchandise. The franchise element of the Disney Channel explains why programmers need to make shows about securely middle-class families. Doing so both doesn't alienate working-class viewers, while also painting a fantasy of magical middle-classdom where money is never a problem and consumption is a high priority. That is to say, the family on Wizards of Waverly Place may run a humble sandwich shop, but their apartment sure doesn't look that way. As Blue puts it, Disney's texts, products, and promotions may allay anxieties over vast systematic inequalities, in large part by painting an image of a world where families aren't struggling to make ends meet. This, of course, requires ignoring realities, like the fact that 14.4% of American children were growing up below the poverty line as of 2019.
I actually am worried about the future because I just want us to be good and don't have to worry about how we're going to get the next thing or how we're going to get food.
Of course, it's not just Disney and it's not just tween girls being targeted. Cartoon shows like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and The Smurfs were extended through a huge amount of licensed merchandising tie-ins, ranging from films to comics and books to computer games. Scholar Marcia Kinder observed back in 1991 that this transmedia intertextuality effectively eliminates any distinction between the original text, i.e. the show, and the spin-off text and commodities that bank on the show's success, which may be a large reason why children's and family television typically finds its comfort zone in middle to upper middle class bliss, where the biggest problem is your family photo shoot coming out squeaky clean. And there's nothing wrong with that. We love these shows, but it does present a skewed perspective of what American life is like. As Stile Sakira and Larry Osimensa put it, television serves as a tool that continues to mold the public consciousness, in part by fostering a single-minded interpretation of superficial symbolism as an indicator of status and quality. That is to say, by basically suggesting that the right house, the right toy, or the right sparkly outfit can bring you happiness and cement your status as happily middle class, TV reinforces a materialistic status quo. No.
Okay, so now that y'all have heard that, I wanted to focus on particular terms and words that were used throughout that clip, and we're going to go through it. By the way, I clipped out the larger segment. I'll put it in the descriptions, the larger show, so that you guys can watch it. Or the larger video, so that guys can watch it and you can form your own opinion. Okay, so let's go through some things. Targeted with lifestyle marketing. These girls were targeted with lifestyle marketing. Why is this so important? First, let's preface this by saying why is this so important? These girls are not women. The girls that were girls in the 80s and the 90s and the early aughts are now women. They're late generation X, so they're in their early 40s, or they're millennials, or early generation Z. That's why it's important. These are the women that young men, young black men specifically, are coming across in the dating scene, right? So let's keep on going. Like I said before, targeted with lifestyle marketing. These women were targeted with billions, if not millions, if not billions of dollars of marketing. The television show was a giant commercial. The commercial was a giant commercial. And these girls were targeted, right? They never stood a chance. If they didn't have parents that reminded them on a pretty consistent basis that this is just entertainment and disabused them of the notion that this is real life, then what you end up having is what many men, black men in particular, are running into now in the dating world. Okay, let's keep on going. President and CCO. CCO, by the way, means Chief Commercial Officer, right? So these are literally rich white men passing down what they think of relationships. And you wonder why relationships have become this transactional in many respects. Because literally the way we think of relationships between men and women, the way we think of relationships between children and their parents, right? Parents and child, has been decided by rich white men, right? Once again, did these girls ever have a chance? It's not up. It is true that it's not up to black men to disabuse them of these notions. Quite frankly, it's too late. The propaganda is too ingrained. But I just wanted us to have a conversation about much of the reason why these particular women think the way they do. BGS has often spoken about the Prussian school system and education system and how that affects the way we think. I wanted us to come in today with much of why the media is affecting us and show us how the media is affecting our day-to-day relationships and maybe even our intimate relationships with these women. Let's keep on going. Representations of aspirations and aspiration of celebrity and teen life. Promoting an aspirational way of thinking, and aspiration within itself is not a bad thing. When aspiration becomes a religion, that is, right? So once again, aspiration and celebrity teen life. You wonder why many of these people, women in particular, get their cue from celebrities. Well, they've been indoctrinated since they were young, 5 and 10 and 15 and 18 years old, to get their cue from celebrities, right? This represents a neoliberal turn in the United States. For those of you that need the definition of neoliberal, favoring policies that promote free market capitalism, deregulation, and reduction in government spending. Now, that sounds good, and it sounds like it's just the economic ideology, right? This is just about the economy. But it's not. When you deregulate your society, it may start off with just the economy, but that deregulation trickles down into the culture. And you start to put the barriers down. And then we get all type of weird and interesting ways of men defining what manhood is, women defining what womanhood is, maybe not even wanting to define it, right? We end up in these particular interesting, weird, new ways of viewing the world, right? And viewing relationships, because there's no longer any regulating going on, right? Okay, let's keep on going. Privileges a performative and celebrity-oriented form of girlhood as the contemporary ideal. Now, it says girlhood. I'm thinking more womanhood, because those girls are now women. And once again, we wonder why these women really, really put an emphasis and a value on living a lifestyle that is portrayed on television, right? Think of the Real Housewives of Atlanta or whatever, air quotes, reality television show. These women often try to imitate. Well, they've been doing that since they were children, especially if their parents, once again, did not disabuse them of the fact that this is just entertainment, or this is just supposed to be entertainment. All right, let's keep going. Clothing and lifestyle lines specifically marketed to girls, middle class and working class girls. Middle class and working class girls. So many of us, especially in the Black community, grew up lower middle class, working poor, if not outright poor, right? And yet we're meeting these women who grew up in very similar situations as us. And yet they have this very outsized view of themselves and their position and what they want, especially in a spouse. Some of these women have climbed themselves up out of that position, but many of them have not. And yet they still have these views. And that's because they consumed much of this media, because contrary to popular belief, it wasn't just Disney and Nickelodeon and ABC Family. It was the entire media apparatus that was targeting young people, primarily young girls, with this weird lifestyle brand and lifestyle line. And now those girls that are now women hold everything, including themselves sometimes, to this standard, to their own detriment, by the way. We are, like Roger Report says often, we are going to have to be prepared to watch these women die alone. Not because they never met a spouse that was adequate enough, but because many of these women thought they were better than that spouse that was adequate enough. And that's okay, but that comes with consequences, right? If you're middle class and working class, and you grew up middle class and working class, and you're still middle class and working class, but yet you have this insane outsized view of what you should be living, a man cannot take that away from you. They cannot change your worldview, especially at the ages of 30 and above, 35 and above. Let's keep on going. Painting a fantasy of, air quotes, magical middle classdom. Consumption is a high priority. Of course it is. Understand, let's focus on that word. Consumption is a high priority. The act of consuming, other people seeing that you're a high value consumer. Let's put a spin on that term, high value. It's very paramount in this particular society, this late stage capitalism. It's very important that people see that you're a high value consumer. And one of your consumptions is men. Your spouse is a high value person, and that allows you to be a high value consumer, right? This is promoted ignoring reality. This media has promoted people ignoring the reality. Once again, the fact that we live in a pyramid scheme. Oftentimes you have these conversations with people and they hit you with the weird abundance mindset, right? We just got to work smarter. We just got to work harder, which honestly is partially true. But these people are ignoring the reality that this system is a pyramid scheme, and that this system is a zero-sum game. I have it because you don't have it. You have it because I don't have it. There's only so many slots. Only one of us could be first place. Only one of us could be second place. Only one of us could be third place. It's extremely rare to have a tie. And only 1, 2, 3 of us could be podium. Everybody else practically doesn't count. Very few industries gives an honorable mention to anyone that didn't come in podium first, second, or third. Very few endeavors in life will you get an honorable mention for not at least making podium. But when you're ignoring reality, because it's been promoted to you to ignore reality for decades by this media apparatus, once again, billions of dollars targeted towards you since you were a child, then ignoring reality just comes second nature, right? Let's keep going. It does present a skewed perspective of what American life is like. Once again, I just went over that. These people do have a skewed perspective of what American life is like. And they couch that as others being pessimistic when you sound like me, Mr. Z, right? Others being Debbie Downers, others being haters. And you do have to be careful how you speak to people with much of this information, because you do not want to hamper someone's dream. People do achieve their dreams on a daily basis, every day, right? But with that said, there's a line between being able to achieve a dream and being delusional. And it's rare that a person is extremely delusional and yet they still make it through, right? But that skewed perspective of what American life is like, we're watching that every day, especially in these spaces. We're having conversations with different men, different women, but specifically the women, even more specifically the black women, and you can just see how skewed their worldview is. Let's keep going. TV molds the public consciousness. This is something we already know in this space. I just thought it needed to be stated. Once again, if your parents and your immediate relatives and friends did not disabuse you, and that did not get you out of whatever mindset you might have been in about television being just entertainment, then it does become something you aspire to, oftentimes to your own detriment. And we're watching that happening to younger Xers, millennials, and older generation Z women as we speak. And finally, superficial symbolism as an indicator of status and quality. This is why she wants that S-Class Benz. This is why she wants that house in the suburbs with the white picket fence. This is why she wants that particular dog, the teacup dog. We all know what dog I'm talking about. This is why she wants to send the kids to a particular private school, even though the public school in the neighborhood is A-rated, right? This is why all of that. Because it's superficial symbolism as an indicator of status and quality. It was very important that I brought this to y'all today so that we can have a larger conversation about the outside forces that help to mold the women that we're coming into contact with now. That were once little girls, now they're women, and now we understand why they sound the way they sound, why we've watched different videos throughout the past couple years of women saying all type of things like, who wants to be with average anyway? If I make more than him, I will abuse him. If I make more than him, I will mistreat him, right? I would rather be single than be with average. A man is his money. We've watched these videos of women saying these things. And now we have an understanding of much of the reason, not all of the reason, maybe not even half of the reason, but much of the reason why they sound the way they do. And so as you men continue your lives and if you're dating, if you're in these different relationships, understand why the women you're coming across sound the way they do. Once again, not exclusive to the black community. It's exaggerated in the black community, but it's not exclusive to the black community. It's not exclusive to black women. You better believe Disney is not something only black girls were consuming and are consuming. Nickelodeon is not something that black girls only are consuming. So I'll pause right there. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Once again, I do agree, for those of you that are going to say it's not up to men to change their minds or to bring them to the light, you're definitely correct. I'll preempt you right there by saying that. But let me know what y'all think in the comments, and I'll pause right there. Mr. Z out.